Hello everybody to my channel. So today we are going to read a passage for improving our skills in RC and understanding that how to attempt the questions in the RC so as to save time during the examination. So let us start. We have with us a passage on tradition. So first it is impetus that we determine from which genre this passage is from. So, can you determine that from which genre this passage is from? Let me know in the comment section. At the end of the video, I'll mention from which genre this passage is from. And I can understand that after reading this passage, you will also understand from which genre this is from. So, let us start. I will tell you to pause this video and solve it by yourself, then look at my explanation. Okay, let us now begin reading the passage. Tradition is what the West doesn't have. Tradition is what they long for because they have lost it. For tradition, they have to look outside of themselves to India, to us. Through us, they can reclaim their lost past, re explore their links with forgotten wisdom, retrace the source of their now dried out river of spirituality. Tradition, then, is a domain that we know best and which we can best use to sustain ourselves and our fellow Indians. So, from this, we can understand that the author is trying to make a comparison with us and with the West. Us, we mean by India, it is specifically written that it is India. So the author is saying that the West have lost the tradition and they look to us to find the roots of traditions. Okay, so let us move to the next paragraph. The engines of both modernity, here it is an important point, and we will see that later on this modernity and post-modernity, the other, all the questions that revolve around this thing. So we have to understand this. The engines of both modernity and post-modernity are firmly in the control of the West, and they are not about to surrender their driver's seat. Our participation in these discourses is at best peripheral, our continued investment in them risky. Moreover, let alone postmodernity, even modernity hasn't been properly domesticated in India. We are a society in which the modern usually forms a thin, easily peeled off layer over old ideas, systems, and structures. Those who inhabit only the modern are doomed to superficiality and sterility, like stunted and diseased freaks trapped in an artificial subculture which allows little air, water, or sunshine. We see such raw, uninformed minds in the semi-literal lumpens that roam our semi-rural now townscapes, as also in their super sophisticated, ultra modern urban counterparts who always look to the latest from the West to fashion their lives, thereby remaining restless, insecure, and uncertain of themselves. As to postmodernity, it is merely a concept to us, merely an imported toy. Here is the word imported toy. This can be used as an inference. I agree that it has tremendous anti authoritarian possibilities. It also ties up our various regional movements with a world tendency for autonomy and decentralization. But its sustaining currents, at least intellectually and ideologically, are somewhat alien to us. Remember, India is still the home of orthodox Marxists, Stalinists, modernists, and other such creatures which have become extinct elsewhere in the world. In the West, for instance, everything is in a post phase, post structuralist, post Marxist, post feminist, post industrialist, and so on. Here, we are more or less in a proto stage, proto capitalist, proto industrial, proto feminist, and so on. To apply postmodernity uncritically and unreflectively to our situation then would be rather inappropriate. In the final analysis, what makes us unique in India is not so much the dominance of tradition over modernity or the dominance of modernity over postmodernity or vice versa, but the simultaneous and continuous existence of each contrary to world trends. In India, tradition, modernity, and postmodernity all flourish cheek by jowl without one supplanting or extinguishing the other. This inherent multivalence characterizes our reality more than any one label. The real challenge then is not only to come to grips with each or to use one strategically against the other two, but to deal with simultaneous relevance, promise, and threat of all three of them, not only in relation to themselves in India, but also in relation to the West. Okay, we have gone through the passage. Okay, now we kind of understand that what is it talking about. It is talking about mainly tradition and what the traditions of the West are lost, and they look to the East, that is to India. We can't say East, we can specifically say India. Okay, that will be out of premise. Okay, so here we are talking about two concepts: modernity and post-modernity, and how it has not yet penetrated in India. Okay, and some people who have inhabited modernity, they seem like, you know, superficial. Later, we see that this post-modernity concept is like an imported toy. We have imported it, we have brought it into our country, but we haven't adopted it. It is still just like a seed which has not grown into a plant. Okay, last we have to say that modernity and post-modernity, they both coexist. Okay, we cannot just place one thing without the other. Tradition, modernity, and post-modernity all have to exist with each other, and we cannot just eliminate one. But the challenge is to strategically use them and not to eliminate them, but to use all of them in relation not only to not only in India but also referring to the West. What are the questions? Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? The Western world seeks tradition because they value the achievement of tradition. Is there this is anywhere mentioned the achievement of tradition? Therefore, this is out of the premise. Now we have to play on the basis of elimination also. We have to see the options and elim- keep on eliminating those options which are not relevant to the passage. So this is completely not relevant to the passage. Nowhere it is mentioned. The West looks upon us to retrace the lineage, ancestry, and forgotten wisdom in the image of our own. Note this word: lineage, ancestry, forgotten wisdom. Wisdom is there, forgotten wisdom is there, but and past is also there. But where are the words, or where is the idea about this lineage? Or when we are talking about lineage, we are talking about once the West used to live over here, but we have no idea that they used to live over here or not. Okay, they are talking about retracing the spirituality, but not about the ancestry or the lineage, which means that they would have lived here, right? So this is also out of the premise. India is the only country where tradition, modernity, post-modernity coexist in a plane. Now this is the right one, because here we are saying that what makes us unique in India is not the dominance of one thing over the other, which is tradition, modernity, or uh, this thing, post-modernity, but it is the simultaneous, which means that they all exist with each other. Okay, so this is the correct option, which is there in the last paragraph. So see one thing, that this is the first question, but that doesn't mean that this question has come from the first passage. A lot of people make this mistake that they think that first question therefore it will come from the first passage only. No, you have to read the whole passage to understand, to read the whole passage to understand the material. Some people will tell you read the question and then read the passage, but no, because I'm telling you that see this question, have had you like read the question in the beginning, would you be able to make out anything? If you not be able to understand the passage, you wouldn't be, because you have to read all the options and to see the where from this is coming and grasp the central idea of the passage. Okay, modernity and post-modernity do not trespass each other's periphery. Also, this is something which is not mentioned. Our participation in these discourses is at best peripheral. Okay, so we are saying that we have participated in this, but we are like at the boundary. We have not entered it. But this has nothing to do with. This is also a distortion. Let us go to the second question, which is this. According to the author, the domestication of modernity in India is, first option we have still raw and its initial stages. Second option we have thin and easily peeled off layer. Thin and easy peeled off layer. Can you remember that where this is? This is from here. And what is this talking about? Is this talking about domestication of modernity? Absolutely not. We are a society in which the modern, which means the people, we are talking about those people who have formed this modernity, and within them there are the old structures, all these exist, and it's just a peel on, just like a orange, there's a peel outside, that's a peel. We're talking about the people. So this is cut off, temporary and lax in depth. It is out of the premise, superficial, alien to Indian society. So modernity, we are talking post-modernity, right? Like sorry, in modernity, it is the modern, those who inhabit. Again, we are talking about those who inhabit modern, superficial, modernity. They only inhabit. See, only inhabit. Okay, so which means that they only inhabit modernity and they have left their old traditions and everything. Those people are superficial, but not modernity is not superficial. Absolutely, domestication of modernity, nowhere it is being doing. So we are left with only one option over here. So it has to be true. And why it is true? I'm explaining it still raw, because see we are at the, it's its periphery. We have not yet that has not yet penetrated. Therefore, it is raw. We see that those minds are unformed. Okay, but we're not even talking about here. We will be over here, and we see that hasn't properly been domesticated in India. So it has not yet properly been. It just has come, okay, but it has not properly, seeped into our lives. Let's go to the next question. The statement postmodernity is merely an imported toy. And what do we mean by imported toy? Something that has come outside the country that is not ours. So, see, the first option is postmodernity always professes autonomy. Though we are talking about autonomy here, but it is about world autonomy, it is not about postmodernity autonomy. See, they with a world tendency for autonomy and decentralization. Nowhere we are telling that postmodernity always. See, these words always only you have to be very careful about because these have a property of distortion. Okay? Because we'll say like only they do this, only or always they are doing this, or never they will do this. So this is a thing that we're very careful about because most of the time we'll see that it is not nowhere said that they at all do not do it or always do this. Okay, so you have to be very clear. Or whenever you see always and only, be just careful about that option. Okay, and see specifically if it is mentioned that only. Like I told you that only is mentioned over here. So if a question would have arrived from here only, then we could have just given it correct. But since it is not, therefore we have to be very careful. Postmodernity principles are alive in Indian society. Postmodernity principles are alive in Indian society, where it has nowhere been told that postmodernity principles are principles. So we have even talked about. So it is cancelled. Postmodernity needs to be studied thoroughly for the domestication in Indian scenario. Nowhere it is mentioned about studying out of the premise. Postmodernity in India is a square peg in a round hole. What is a square peg in a round hole? If I draw you the picture, if this is a peg, okay, and this is a round hole, will this fit into this peg will fit into this round hole? This will not because it is not cut to to fit in that shape. So here also we are telling that in West they are post all these things, okay, industrialists, because they are advanced, but we are not, we are still exploring these things. So post modernity, we have not only modernity hasn't yet seeped in our culture, in our traditions, but how will post modernity come, right? Right. So it is in India, it is a square peg in a round hole. It has not till fitted, or it has not yet it found its place in our in India. Next question. What solution of meeting the real challenge could the author have given had there been another passage in the a paragraph in the passage? So we are talking about here an extra passage. If that would have been added, then what would have been the passage all about? First option is that the author would have told the government to imbibe the ideas of postmodernism thoroughly, especially through the curriculum of the higher studies. How can we, when the author is telling that everything has to coexist, then how can he just be relying on one aspect of it, which is postmodernism? Okay, and be telling the government to teach that only in our uh, to the school children. It is not, he is telling here that everything has to coexist, and that is the strategy. Okay, that is the strategy. So this is wrong. B. The author would have inculcated the modern ideas in the minds of the people through his writing. Modern ideas. The author believes that tradition is important, and modern ideas have to coexist with traditions. So, if the author would have to inculcate any idea, he would have told that to make place for everything, tradition, modernity, post-modernity, not leaving out anything. But the real challenge then is not only to come to grips with each other or to use one strategically against the two, but to deal with their simultaneous relevance, promise, and threat of all of them. Everything has its own threat, it has own promise, it has own relevance. Okay, so what would the author, this is also incorrect, the author would have told us to inculcate the ideas of globalization to the maximum extent possible. So, what do I mean by globalization? Globalization means that it is globalization where there is free flow of trade, where this is a country, maybe this is a country, okay, and this is a country, and if the country trades with outside and the another country also trades in this import export. So there's not only this import export of goods, there's also import and export of ideas, traditions, values, right? So exactly the same thing is being told that everything has to coexist. Therefore, the author would try to preach that only. The author would try to influence the other countries to adopt the proto ideas. Again, this is out of the premise because Western countries, other countries, I'm taking all of the countries. If that includes West have already out of this proto ideas because they are post everything. Okay, they're post. See, the West are post structuralist, post Marxist, post feminist, post industrialist, and so on. And we are the at the proto stage, developing country. So this also does not justify this question. So I think we have been able to understand about this passage, and that is it. Thank you for watching my video, and I wish all of you the very best of luck in the upcoming CAT examination. Thank you.